Welcome to Beverly Unitarian Church. My name is Judy Schader. I'm a worship associate, and I will also be speaking today. I am so glad to welcome you. We are a Unitarian Universalist congregation of children, youth, and adults of many races, traditions, gender, sexual orientation, abilities, education, and experiences. We celebrate a diversity of beliefs, always striving to make space for more. You are all sacred. You are welcome here. Whatever your past or present is like, we invite you to walk into the future with us. Like other Unitarian Universalist congregations, we affirm 7 principles which are not doctrine or dogma, but are shared values and a moral guide. To learn more about our principles, please visit uua.org. Our minister is the Reverend David Schwartz. We especially welcome visitors and hope you'll stay for the virtual coffee hour after the service on Zoom. The link will be shared at the end of the service. We look forward to the day when we will be able to greet you in person. Although we remain physically distanced, we can stay connected. To get more involved, check out our Facebook page and website. Contact the office to sign up for our monthly newsletter and Friday email blast, and to be connected to Reverend David for pastoral care. And now, let us join together in spirit and prepare our hearts and minds for worship. Spirit of life and love. We gather together in different ways this morning, from computer screens, from telephones, from car radios. We gather reaching out across the wires, waving from a safe distance. We come together in religious community, from living room to front porch to car seat. We gather as we are able, ready to be of service to each other and to the world, ready to build the community of hope and love. As we face this bright morning, we are apart, but we are together, offering our love, our commitment, our hope, and our prayers in service to one another and this world. It is a new way, but an old way, that we come together in worship today. As the opening words say, we are apart, but together. As we watch and listen to this service from our different locations, different times, our different devices, we each bring our own perspective. We are influenced by our physical surroundings and by what we see out of our windows. We are influenced by the people and pets keeping us company, or by being alone. We are influenced by how our day has gone so far, our emotions, perhaps by what we heard on the news. We are influenced by our cultural heritage, our parents, our religions of origin, or spiritual practices. We are influenced by what we were taught in school, by what we studied in college, and by our careers. We are influenced by our race, gender, sexual orientation, age, and past decisions. We are influenced by things we have read, by places we have visited, by experiences we have lived, by groups we have joined, by information sources, by who we talk and associate with. Some of us may believe that it's a beautiful, sunny day. Others that it's cold and dreary. Some of us may believe this recording is excellent. Others, with a poor internet connection, believe it is very poor sound quality. Some of us may feel very connected to Beverly Unitarian Church and everyone on the chat, and others may feel isolated and left out. Some of us may believe today's topic, all beliefs are limiting, is especially relevant today. Some may believe it is uninteresting or wrong. Some of us may believe one thing now and something else later. For no matter how true a given belief is, it is never the whole truth and nothing but the truth. When looked at from all the possible locations, directions, perspectives, levels, paradigms, situations, times, and people. Everyone listening to this has a valid belief about the day, the recording, the BUC community, and the topic of this service. You are all right.
Here we have gathered side by side, circle of kinship, come and step inside. May all who seek here find a kindly word. May all who speak here feel they have been heard. Sing now together this our heart's own song. Here we have gathered, called to celebrate days of our lifetime, matters small and great. We of all ages, women, children, men, infants and sages, sharing what we can. Sing now together this our heart's own song. Life has its battles, sorrows and regret, but in the shadows let us not forget. We who now gather know each other's pain. Kindness can heal us as we give, we gain. Sing now in friendship this our heart's own song.
We light this flame for the art of sacred unknowing, humbled by all that we cannot fathom in this time. We come into the presence of what we do know, perhaps the only thing we can ever know, that love is now and forever the only answer to everything and everyone. in every moment.
Since what we choose is what we are, and what we love we yet shall be, the goal may ever shine afar, the will to win it makes us free.
Friends, will you join me in the words of our covenant? Love is the spirit of this church, and service its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another.
Our story today is the deductive Mr. Horsefly. Mr. Horsefly was the new head of the Prairie Post Office. He'd worked hard, put a lot of effort into getting the job, and if you ask him, he thinks that he got it because of his deductive skills. Well, the first day he opened up shop, and who came in but Mr. Beetle, Miss Spider, Miss Mantis, and Mr. Grasshopper. Before they could say anything, Mr. Horsefly said, I know what you came in for. And he brought out a mat, a nail file, some goggles, and a book. Before they could say anything, he says, oh, I know the nail file, that's got to be for Miss Spider with all that scratching she does. She's going to have to fix up her nails. And the goggles, they got to be for Mr. Beetle. He's got his eyes so close to the ground, he's got to protect them somehow. And the mat, that's got to be for Mr. Grasshopper. All that hopping he does, he's really got to stay fit. He's got to exercise. And this big book, it's got to be the Bible. So it's got to be for Miss Praying Mantis. Oh, and I hope she keeps me in her prayers. Oh, the insects started laughing. That comment about Miss Mantis, everyone on the prairie knew that Miss Mantis had changed her name from Miss Praying Mantis just to plain Miss Mantis. Mr. Grasshopper said, you're not much of a detective, are you? First of all, Miss Spider came in for the book. She's very quiet. She never scratches anyone. And Mr. Beetle likes to sunbathe in his swimming pool. He likes to float on his back. The mat's for him. And Miss Mantis, she'd be wanting that nail file. You know, she's quite a flirt. And the goggles, they're for me. I'm not as young as I used to be. I don't see so well. And all that hopping across the ground, every once in a while I get a black eye. I need to protect myself. Well, Mr. Horsefly was pretty embarrassed. But you do hop on the grass, huh? Yes, I do. But you making all those assumptions based on prejudices, you end up with more misses than hits. Well, after a few days, Mr. Horsefly had a good laugh at himself after he got to know all the insects. And he realized that making judgments without knowing is an exercise for fools.
To all alone, unloved, unknown, whose hearts yet beat with mine as one, bless each and all tonight. Your unshared dreams, your unheard prayers, your secret hopes and fears and cares, find life and place and light. There's not enough of love to lose, there's not enough of joy to choose, yet all deserve life's best. Life is so brief, and grief so strong, and joy so short, and tears so long. Let each and all be blessed. Good friends, beloved, bless, keep you all, on everyone rich blessings fall, on all beneath the heavens. Your eyes from tears, your hearts from pain, your homes with joy, your stores with gain. May peace to all be given.
Since we last met, many, if not most of us, have experienced something that has sent a shimmer or a rumble through our mental structure. This week has brought new joys for some of us and new sorrows for others. Celebrations to some of us and concerns to others. We have all been changed in some way by our experiences this past week as individuals, as families, and as a community. I light this candle to honor what is in each of our hearts this morning. Please share your joys and your concerns in the chat, remembering that it's a public forum, and if you would prefer to just raise two fingers, you can type I.
Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea. Giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. to me, come to me. Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.
Years ago, I took a trip to France. I flew into de Gaulle Airport and rented a car to drive to Normandy. The highway circled around the west of Paris. Seeing a sign for Normandy, I exited. Horrified, I realized I was heading east, the wrong direction. Once off the highway, I was right in the city. I had to figure out how to get back on the highway headed west. I had a map, but I didn't know exactly where I was. I had to ask someone in my very broken French. What is it that they always say about the French? That they are unfriendly and don't like it when people can't speak their language? But there seemed no way to get myself back on the right road. So, excusez-moi, puissiez-vous m'aider? Je dois aller à Normandy sur cette route. I pointed at the map. The French woman was very sympathetic. She showed me where we were on the map and the route back to the highway. She pointed out my first turn and said, take the fourth exit on the roundabout. Great. Well, I got as far as that roundabout. It was terrifying. Several lanes wide with everyone honking at me. I managed to get off the circle on one of the unnamed roads. I was on a new street, but I was right back where I started, needing help. Over and over the same thing, and every person I asked bent over backwards to help me. One woman happily missed her bus while she instructed me. I must have stopped 6 times. No one brushed me off or was at all rude. Finally, I managed to navigate one of the roundabouts and found my way back to the highway. So what's the truth about the French? Are they unfriendly? Was my experience unusual? Does the stereotypical ugly American cause unfriendly behavior in the French? Well, it turns out that both views about the French are correct. A little book about French culture explained it perfectly. The author, an American, had lived in France for years. The first year, she hardly knew any of her apartment neighbors. No one greeted her or engaged in small talk. Then, she broke her leg and was on crutches. Suddenly, all her neighbors became genuinely caring and helpful. They carried things for her. They brought her groceries. They really went out of their way to help. The author explained that in French culture, people have very few close friends with whom they are very close and committed. They cannot have lots of friends because it would be too much time and effort. So they go about their business without the friendliness that we often see in the United States. But if a friend or anyone needs help, they are all there. So both the common unfriendly view of the French and my opposite friendly experience with them are true. How we look at something determines what we see. There are often many ways to look at a thing, and they are all valid. But it is a mistake to think that one view tells the whole story. Recall the story of the blind men all feeling different parts of the elephant and arguing whether an elephant was like a snake, a fan, a tree, a wall, or a spear. Once they stopped arguing and started listening to each other, to all the evidence, they realized that they were all partly correct and partly wrong. Putting all the observations together gave them a realistic idea of an elephant. The reality of the universe into which we are born is immense and complex, with atoms, subatomic particles, forces, energy, space, and time. Stuff gets arranged for myriad reasons into clusters. There are molecules which associate into metals, minerals, gases, liquids. Some of these things organize into living cells. Cells organize into organs and organisms, which become populations. Populations interact in an ecological web. Everything is connected. There are things within things, but they all have open boundaries with matter and energy crossing in and out of time. So they are not separate. Newborn babies can make almost no sense of it all. Slowly, using their physical senses, they come to recognize certain things. They have pictures of them in their mind. They gain some inner representation of what things do, how they feel, taste, and sound. Eventually, they learn words for the pictures and feelings. Then they form sentences to explain how things interact. As the baby grows into a child, a huge number of pictures and words accumulate in the mind. They need to be organized into mental maps of the real world. Their parents and others help them to organize their mental world by telling them what to do, think, and say. Yet, as large and detailed as our mental maps may become, the writer and environmentalist Wendell Berry reminds us the human definition of the natural world is always going to be too small because the world's more diverse and complex than we can ever know. We are not going to comprehend it. It comprehends us. Much of what goes into a child's mental map comes from their cultural environment and their parents. There are cultural norms, rules, concepts, and behaviors. The French learn to have a few very close, highly committed friendships. Americans learn to treat all acquaintances as friends, but maintain far less commitment to them. Americans have tended to have fairly unique cultural beliefs in individual freedom coupled with self-reliance, equality of opportunity coupled with competition, and the obtainability of the American dream coupled with hard work. Our minds absorb much of our native culture without much thought, just as we pick up our native language. These form unconscious beliefs. Occasionally, we are aware of a choice in how we build our inner world. We may decide that we believe something. We may make a statement that espouses that belief. For example, one may believe college is important. Jeffrey Allen, a spiritual teacher and energy healer, explains that every belief, whether conscious or unconscious, true or false, is like a still picture. Whereas real life is a dynamic dance of energy and change, the static belief can get stuck in our mind and even in our body. Albert Einstein said, "We are slowed down sound and light waves, a walking bundle of frequencies tuned into the cosmos." A young person who believes that college is important may be hindered in moving forward toward a successful career as an entrepreneur, software developer, or commercial pilot. They may waste years in college and end up unhappy in an ill-suited career. Someone with a lot of static beliefs can get very stuck in life and possibly ill. It's hard to act in accord with all the beliefs. Fear of acting wrongly can paralyze a person. Incompatible beliefs can destabilize the whole mental framework. I've seen this happen. A person I knew prided himself in logic, which led him to many passionate beliefs. He was argumentative, often angry, became obsessive, had trouble keeping a job, and died of Alzheimer's at a relatively young age. Beliefs formed in early childhood in response to big or little traumas can be hidden, yet trigger frequent episodes of overwhelming emotions such as sadness, anger, or anxiety. Examples would be, "I don't matter," or "I'm not enough." Such hidden beliefs often create relationship problems. We can, however, find and rid ourselves of them. Philosopher Ken Wilber, in his Integral Theory, says all cultures and individuals go through certain developmental stages in all areas of life. Individuals go from an undifferentiated stage in infancy to egocentric, ethnocentric, world-centric, cosmic-centric, and finally to the integral stage at which oneness with everything can be experienced. The ethnocentric or traditional stage values absolutism, authority, structure, and stability, with faith in God, family, and tribe or country. The modern cultural stage, starting with the Renaissance, values universal freedom, individual rights, equal opportunity, reason, strategic enterprise, and achievement, which were all founding American values. The postmodern cultural stage values relativism, multiculturalism, and diversity, and equal outcome. They realize that different perspectives or paradigms result in different truths. They choose paradigms that they believe explain the world and reject others. It's common today to look through a lens of race and identity politics. Another lens is class struggle. The integral stage sees all perspectives as true, but none as the complete truth. The French are unfriendly and friendly. An elephant has many parts. Ken Wilber estimates that only about 5% of the world population has reached an integral developmental level in most areas of life. An ethnocentric person often believes in an authoritarian, personified storybook God. As that person develops more emphasis on reason and science, they may reject some of the literal, magical, and mythical tenets of religion as too limiting or childish. Some people will reject not only fundamentalism, but all spirituality, claiming a belief in atheism, rationality, humanism, or science. This belief can be even more limiting than fundamentalism because spirituality is a major component of life. It is the only way we know ourselves from the inside through meditative practice. It is by awareness of our consciousness that we can eventually reach the higher cosmic and integral stages of development. Rather than rejecting a belief, it is possible to evolve it to a higher, more inclusive level. From a higher spiritual stage, we can still understand the traditional, just as adults understand a young child's worldview. We may no longer believe in Santa Claus, but we still believe in the value of giving. A person who claims to believe in science but doesn't keep up with actual scientific research may be limited to believing the scientific dogma or story with which he is familiar and reject true advances in science. For a long time, modern medicine rejected mind-body connection. It is now quite mainstream. A more avant-garde example is psi phenomena, including remote viewing, perception through time, mind-matter interactions, and field consciousness, which have been shown by thousands of critically reviewed, published experiments and meta-analyses to exist beyond any reasonable doubt. The research is detailed in the book The Conscious Universe, written in 1997. This science has not been widely publicized. Furthermore, people claiming to believe in science often reject it, even when shown all the evidence and statistics. As author and psi experimenter, Dr. Dean Radin explains, "We do not see the world as it is, but as we wish it to be. We know this through decades of conventional research in perception, cognition, decision-making, intuitive judgment, and memory. Essentially, we construct mental models of a world that reflect our expectations, biases, and desires, a world that is comfortable for our egos, that does not threaten our beliefs, and that is consistent, stable, and coherent. Thus, just having a belief makes it much harder to accept evidence, even if it is well substantiated, that contradicts that belief. It is exceedingly hard to change a belief that is integral to our worldview. Dr. Radin discusses at length the power of preconceptions to determine what we can and can't see. He looks at the effect of prior convictions, cognitive dissonance, expectancy effects, judgment errors, what we pay attention to, selective evidence, suppression, unconscious reaction, repression, identification, dissociation, media bias, and peer pressure. He tells of one experiment where subjects were shown cards from a deck with black hearts. Unless shown a heart card for 20 or 30 seconds, no one noticed it. One man said the heart had a black border. Then he said he was very confused and didn't know what he was seeing. I would highly recommend the book for that section alone. The highly charged beliefs that different groups of people hold with regards to the recent presidential election has been a remarkable demonstration of the power and limitations of beliefs. After all, we all live in the same world. We would all do well to take the advice of Benjamin Franklin. He said, "For having lived long, I have experienced many instances of being obliged by better information or fuller consideration to change opinions, even on important subjects which I once thought right, but found to be otherwise. It is therefore that the older I grow, the more apt I am to doubt my own judgment and to pay more respect to the judgment of others."
From this house to the world we will go hand in hand. From this house to the world we will go hand in hand. From this house to the world we will go hand in hand, hand in hand in hand. From this house to the world we will go hand in hand, hand in hand in hand. From this house to the world we will go hand in hand, hand in hand in hand. From this house to the world we will go hand in hand in hand. From this house to the world we will go hand in hand. built of love for the people. We will go hand in hand now from this house to the world for the people. We will go hand in hand, hand in hand. Oh, from this house to the world, we will go hand in hand now. From this house to the world, we will go hand in hand from this house to the world, we will go hand in hand. Oh, from this house to the world, we will go hand in hand. Oh, from this house built of love to the world, for the people, we will go hand in hand. From this house to the world, we will go hand in hand. From this house to the world, we will go hand in hand now. From this house to the world, we will go hand in hand. It worked. Thank you.
We extinguish this candle, but remember that the light is in everyone. The Reverend Amy Zucker Morgenstern reflects on teachers everywhere. In every person we meet, especially those who cause us discomfort, we find an opportunity for us to grow, to learn, to go further along the path of transformation that is our purpose in life. Every single one is our teacher. May the next week bring you many such moments of meeting that help you become the person you want to be. And may you welcome them with joy. As we leave this gathering and each go on our own way, let us remember these words by the great philosopher and father of American psychology, William James. The world we see that seems so insane is the result of a belief system that is not working. To perceive the world differently, we must be willing to change our belief system. Let the past slip away, expand our sense of now, and dissolve the fear in our minds.